Hell, Zamint, peace, gods and goddess. Lately, I've been looking more into the relationship between blacks here in America and the American Jews, essentially. And in the process of examining this relationship that we have, um, essentially the relationship between black and white and the ideology in which I hold about it. You understand? And the ideology in which a lot of our more radical leaders have held about it. Um, in the process of examining this relationship, uh, that ideology has been reinforced. And so, what I mean is, historically, the American Jew, or the Jewish in a sense, but specifically we're talking about the American Jewish, has been economically, politically, and socially elevated above that of the American blacks. You understand? Um, and I point this out because the struggle for Black Americans, you understand, is rooted deeply in the terrorism that we face politically, economically, socially, culturally, etc. You understand? But when you examine why there is a certain level disconnect, you understand, between groups that are essentially persecuted in the same ways that blacks have been here in America, have been persecuted. Why is there such a disconnect? And so to answer this, um, the best way I can put it is that when it comes to whites, okay, when it comes to the relationship between white and black, n- not depending upon the specific group of white, okay, not depending upon the specific subgroup, okay. When you examine it, the one thing or the one common thing that pops up is a inferior slash superior complex, or an inferior versus a superior complex. Now, society will tell you that, and even in and even in society, you understand, you can see this dynamic. Okay, the dynamic is that whites cannot accept their inferior feelings that they have towards us being more superior in almost every category. Okay. Now, alone, yes, we know that we dominate athletics. We know that we dominate the talents, singing, dancing, whatever, the arts. We dominate these fields. We dominate the intellectual fields. Okay. And as I begin to examine the relationship between the American Jew and the American black, this is why there are essentially no real chances of any sort of allyship between the two, or between any other group outside of black. You understand? And it is simply because they cannot accept that we are superior. Okay? And so when you develop this new lens of looking at it, you then also have to examine the current time that we in. You have to also examine the current system that we in. And you will begin to see that this system, that this society, that this whole American culture is built around white coping. Okay, it is built around uh, essentially playing into the idea of feeding the whites that they are superior, while they subconsciously battle knowing that they are inferior. Okay, as I am reading this book, it's called, it's right here. It is this book. Okay, it is called Bridges and Boundaries: African Americans and American Jews. As I am reading this, you understand, one of the papers in here, in this book, um, he goes on to explain that in his childhood, growing up in New York, this is an American Jew essentially, growing up in New York, okay, there was an instance of where uh, he was on a track team essentially, okay? And what happens is that the opposing team that they are playing is essentially all black, okay? The team dominates, they win without any without any doubt. Uh, and the American Jew, his team comes in second. Now, what happens is that they look into the whole thing, and apparently, the black team, some of the people on the team aren't students or whatever the case may be, so they award the second place team, which is the American Jew team. They award that team. It was mainly composed of whites, so the majority white team is granted the medal for winning, quote unquote, even though they came in second. And going back to school, the teachers and everybody praising them on how well they are, how superior they are, how proud of them they are for winning this race, how proud they are for doing so academically well, etc., etc. And what ended up happening is on his way home he gets jumped, etc., by those same black uh, athletes that actually won. Now this right here is a perfect example of the very dynamic that blacks have with whites in America in general. You understand? We will work twice as hard. And not only will we work twice as hard, but even when we do not work twice as hard, we still outperform those of our white counterparts. Um, and what happens is that this system is built around white cope. So what will happen is that the system will not recognize your progress. The system will not recognize and dignify you with the proper credentials or the proper acknowledgement of achievements, or any of these things. You will always face some sort of backlash or be told that maybe you are cheating or etc. etc. They will always find some loophole to then essentially reward the white with the higher achievement, with the praise, etc. Because this system, this society is built around white cope. They know that you are superior. They know that you have superior intellectual abilities. They know that you have superior physical and athletic abilities. They know that you have superior talents when it comes to the arts. They know that you possess all of these things. So they have to build a society around uh, bringing you down and keeping you in a mental state of inferiority. You understand? They do not want you to feel superior because you already are. You understand? And if you can match the mental with what is already physical, then comes the domination. You understand? And so this society is built around rewarding whites for mediocre to low quality work, while blacks are essentially the blacks here in America. And even as you can see in slavery, we are essentially the builders of this nation, and we are single-handedly keeping this nation running. You understand? And so, what brought me to make this video is, if you are going to, or if you are working on yourself, if you are a black man or woman and you are working on yourself and you are trying to figure out this level of self-hate that you are battling on the inside, or this battle of being belittled, if you are battling this on the inside, you have to take the time to understand that you are not battling a fight that is truly yours. You are fighting a battle that has essentially been projected onto you. You are fighting the battle that essentially the whites are fighting on the inside, okay? And what they are fighting to protect on the outside. So this self-hate, this feeling of being belittled, this feeling of feeling inferior is an implanted feeling, and it is not in fact true. Okay, it is not in fact your reality. And the more that you think it, the more that you live that, you understand, the more it does become your reality, and the more that it does become the truth. You understand? Um, all in all, you are superior in every sense, in every fashion. Okay, all you have to do is believe that. All you have to do is accept that and move forward without measuring yourself by the system, without measuring yourself by the society in which we are in, because this society is not designed for you to feel anything more than feeling inferior. You understand?